Welcome into the Mueller Sports Report and Mueller in the Morning. I am your host, Jared Mueller. You can always get a hold of me on Twitter at Jared K. Mueller. Again, let's take a nice sip of coffee. I think mine's a little warm this morning. As we get ready to get going here a little bit later here on a Wednesday on a hump day. For those of you who were wondering, listened yesterday or saw me on Twitter, I was able to do a few different things physiologically to try to get my shoulder, pinched nerve, arm issue taken care of, and I actually do feel better. I don't know if it's short-term, long-term, we'll find out, but I'm going to try to take care of it, protect it, ice it, do a lot of different things to try to help my spine and neck and all that stuff do its thing. Thanks for anybody or everybody who is concerned. Obviously not the biggest deal in the world, but I appreciate it nonetheless. So, as we get kind of rolling in here, I think the first thing for me today, and this might be a little bit shorter just because I'm running a little late here on hump day, is just thinking a little bit about the quarterback carousel. And so I'm going to talk really about the quarterback carousel a little bit, and then I'm going to talk about the NFL draft. And they both kind of go together. They're a lot of the reasons that I love sports. And so starting with the quarterback carousel, I think there's so many interesting dynamics this year, right? Obviously, if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, most of you still believe Baker Mayfield's the guy, so it's really not about the Browns. It could come into play if someone like Marcus Mariota, Case Keenum, Colt McCoy, some of those kind of backup guys kind of get looked over because of all the different moves, and the Browns are able to pull in somebody, not to give Baker competition, but to have someone who is a backup. I wrote about that on the OBR a little bit, is why there's a surprising, I feel like the backup quarterback position is a position that surprisingly the Browns need to address for a variety of reasons. But when we look at the quarterback carousel in the NFL this year, the what-ifs are just staggeringly amazing, right? It starts obviously with Tom Brady, and I think really that's the focus today, because I'm not even sure off the top of my head I can remember all of the different veteran level, starter level, have been starters all, most of their career kind of quarterbacks that are able to switch teams this year, right? But we start with Tom Brady. So yesterday or the day before, I believe it was yesterday, came out rumors that the Tampa Bay Bucks could be a landing spot for Tom. We already had an idea that the Las Vegas Raiders could be, the LA Chargers could be, and then people started to make a little bit of noise. I think it was Deion Sanders, that the San Francisco 49ers could be in play. And I think a lot of that makes sense, right? And again, we're not talking whether they should or whether it's the right idea or whatever, because in the end, I think most teams, not all, most teams, maybe not the Browns, maybe not like the Eagles, the Texans, the Chiefs, some of those teams with those young quarterbacks, Kyler Murray in Arizona. But I think most teams would sign Tom Brady if he called and said, hey, I'm going to sign there. Give me that money, right? That doesn't mean there's unlimited money or he gets whatever he wants, but I think most teams look and say, listen, 1 or 2 good years of Tom Brady is better than fill in whatever that blank is for that team. And so, but think of the domino effect, right? So let's start with he signs with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now Derek Carr is available for trade. So Derek Carr gets added to a market, and let's try to go through some of it that has technically Drew Brees on it, even though he's going to go back to New Orleans, Phillip Rivers, Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston, Ryan Tannehill, Marcus Mariota. I'm not going to include Taysom Hill, and I'm also not going to click on a website to try to remember all the other names. So even if we just look at that list, all of a sudden now you add Derek Carr to that list. So you're talking 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever number it is, quarterbacks who all of a sudden now are jumbled to go all over the place. Andy Dalton will be available. I feel like I'm missing at least one name that I absolutely should know, and I don't, and that's okay. So Tom Brady goes to the Las Vegas Raiders. Derek Carr is now available. Maybe he fits for Tampa Bay, which means Jameis Winston definitely isn't going back there. So maybe Winston goes someplace like Indianapolis, where everybody assumes Phillip Rivers is going to go, but I think, that's probably right. Phillip Rivers goes there. So does Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick think maybe we can get something out of Jameis Winston and give him a 1-year deal as they wonder if their young quarterback, I think it's Jarrett Stidham is up there, is ready to go. So they give Jameis Winston a 1-year deal or a 2-year make good kind of deal to try to make it in New England with their system and maybe a revamped defense because they weren't able to get weapons around Tom Brady. And then Teddy Bridgewater, where does he go, right? And so does he go out to Los Angeles and be a part of what the Chargers want to do? But will they draft Justin Herbert, right? And so then does Teddy Bridgewater and Justin Herbert become a random version of Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers from years ago with the Chargers when they were back in San Diego, right? So there's just so many what ifs. And I think that's the thing that I encourage fans to enjoy, right? It's why all the mock draft stimulators, whether it's FanSpeak or the guys at the Draft Network, or I know some people have or still use with the first pick. It's why all of those are so popular. And while some people deride those as not real and unrealistic because you can see what the board looks like and not everybody's got the same board, and sorry, that's my mocking voice. I think the reality is that those things allow us to process a lot of what ifs. They allow us to enjoy honestly, the thing many of us enjoyed when we were kids, and that's that choose your own adventure process, right? I think Bill Barnwell and ESPN did a really good job. I think they could have tried to go deeper, and it would have been difficult from a technological standpoint. But they did try to do a good job of, if this person goes to this team, and you kind of pick which team they go to, then what happens with the rest of them. Just thinking about the quarterbacks, there are so many doors that could be wide open and all of a sudden close really quickly, because what if Brady doesn't go to the Raiders? So the Raiders stick with Derek Carr. Brady goes to the Chargers. And now the Chargers aren't looking for anybody young or old, so Herbert is no longer maybe on their radar for that top 10 pick. And so they're not going to bring in a Teddy Bridgewater or Jameis Winston. Maybe Bridgewater goes to Tampa Bay, right? Phillip Rivers goes to the Colts still. Now we're starting to close some doors pretty quickly, right? And so all of a sudden now we're looking at a market where there are too many quarterbacks and not enough chairs. Because Brady doesn't go to Las Vegas, so that doesn't put Derek Carr on the market. Well, even if you put Derek Carr on the market, right? There's just a lot of quarterbacks, because then you add to that the fact that Tua Tagovailoa, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Bryce Love. Sorry, not Bryce Love. That is the running back for Washington. Jordan Love. There are just a number of quarterbacks in the first round that are expected to come out. So all of a sudden, whether they're all going to be good or not, we don't know, but there are maybe 10 quarterbacks that are about to or have the opportunity to change teams or enter the league at starting level competition. Now, they may not all start, but if you're a first round pick, you are already at starting level competition. I just think it's so fascinating to look at, right? It's so fascinating to look at what one move or one or two moves does, right? What if the Colts decide it's Jacoby Brissett, and they're not really going to bring in quote-unquote competition for him, but maybe they bring in a veteran backup like a Marcus Mariota or an Andy Dalton, someone who probably isn't going to get starter-level money and is probably not going to get assumed a starter-level job, but would be seen as competition. So what if one of those kind of lower-tier guys all of a sudden goes to Indianapolis and Phillip Rivers is still available, and then maybe he goes to Tampa Bay, and maybe the Colts don't even believe they have a chair kind of in the starting level quarterback game? Or what if the Titans sign Tom Brady and Ryan Tannehill? Now all of a sudden teams have to really wonder, right? Well, in Miami he struggled, but the system and the turnover and the players and in Tennessee, where it was pretty much a Derrick Henry show, he took over at times, but was that a 1-year wonder? Was that him as on a contract year? What is that? And that's becomes so interesting, right? And so all the what ifs, I just want to encourage you as fans and as media or whoever listens to this, and myself included, to enjoy that, to kind of look at the what ifs of the process, because that's, to be honest, where a lot of the fun comes. Now, if you're a Browns fan, you're probably likely to have a lot of negative what ifs, and that's okay, because that brings us to the second thing. It's one of those things where, I grew up as a Browns fan. I've been in the media now for about a decade, working and getting paid to cover the Browns, or Cleveland sports or the Buckeyes, different things, over the years. But, as a Cleveland sports fan and as Cleveland media, especially for the Browns, we've really become passionate about the NFL draft, right? I would say right after the Browns, it's really the NFL draft that really kind of holds my heart. And that's because it really is because of all the what ifs. It's about the hope. It's about the expectations. It's about the wonderment, right? And so as Browns fans and Browns media, it's so easy to kind of notice the negatives, notice what could be going wrong, what could be bad about something, especially in the NFL draft. And I think that's okay, right? As long as you enjoy some of the process. There's times where having those what ifs is just honest, right? Like, here's a what if that feels uncomfortable to me and probably is going to feel uncomfortable to you. But what if the Cleveland Browns see the offensive tackle class differently than we do? And what I mean by that is, what if they group a lot of the guys together, right? Not just the top four that we talk about all the time, and Wirfs and Becton and Wills and Thomas, but what if the Browns at some level believe that Ezra Cleveland and Austin Jackson and Lucas Niang and Prince, I'm not going to pronounce his last name, all of those guys, what if they see them all as starting level players, right? So instead of top 10, they're looking that a left tackle should be available high in the second round, or maybe late in the first round, somewhere they can trade back. And instead they're looking at someone at a different position at number 10, right? Or they're willing to trade back, not because, listen, if they trade back because their top tackles are off the board and the picks just don't go well for them, or they just get some kind of sweetheart deal because that third quarterback is still on the board at number 10, that's a different conversation. But what if they're looking to trade back because they see a pick in the 20s? Josh Jones is another one that I didn't mention there. See a pick in the 20s and go, man, if we can get one of those guys, it's not that different than getting one of the top guys in the top 10. So what happens then, right? What happens if they trade back? Or at number 10, they see an edge rusher. They see Xavier McKinney, the free safety out of Alabama, who is very versatile, reminds a lot of people of like Malcolm Jenkins, maybe with a little bit more of an upside. But what happens then, right? Those are the what ifs that become really interesting. Is what if Lucas Niang or Austin Jackson or Ezra Cleveland or Josh Jones or whoever it is, what if those guys grade out similarly to whoever is available at 10, right? Now, it'll be tough for me to believe if only one offensive tackle goes in the top 9. Let's just say that. If one, I don't care which one at this point in time, but if one of them goes in the top 10, it would be hard for me to believe that the Browns have similar grades on the second tackle available and the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th tackles available, right? That would just be very, very difficult for me to believe. Now, while this is going to sound like a stretch, it wouldn't shock me if the Browns had similar grades on their 3rd and 4th tackles as they did on kind of their 5th or 6th tackles. Because fit in a system is really valuable in kind of grading. And so, the 3rd and 4th best tackles, let's just say that's Jedrick Wills and Mekhi Becton. Well, what if those guys, they're 3rd or 4th best tackles, but their fit in the system isn't as clean? And then all of a sudden, Ezra Cleveland, who maybe isn't that guy, isn't as overall talented as Becton or Wills, or again, it could be Wirfs, it could be Thomas, whoever it is, but it fits in the system so much that his grade for the system is so much better that trading back into the early 20s, late teens, whatever it is, makes sense to them. Or let's just get that top level, the edge rusher out of LSU to who could be, opposite of Myles Garrett. Let's get him. Let's get Xavier McKinney. Let's get whatever linebacker maybe we have ranked that high. Please, for love, do not do that. But that's just me. Again, Isaiah Simmons, maybe he drops. It's doubtful. But what if instead the Browns just get the top level talent they can at number 10 and then either trade back up or hope that one of those tackles, that 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th guy who maybe fits their system better, falls down to them in the second round. I think that's really the interesting what if for the Browns, is what if they decide to do something outside of what we want them to do, expect them to do, think they should do, whatever terms we're going to use. Or what if the draft doesn't fall the way we want them to? I think in the end, again, Browns fans, for good reason, have reasons to be suspicious. But in the what ifs provides a lot of fun. Like, what if Xavier McKinney really is the next great free safety and the Browns are able to get Ezra Cleveland just because we want to have a Cleveland in Cleveland with the second round pick? And what if they're able to do all that and maybe pick up a second round or a third round pick by trading down? And all of a sudden, what if Ezra Cleveland is a really good left tackle, even as a rookie, and they have Xavier McKinney running all over the place as a free safety? He's able to cover the slot. He's able to do a lot of things. What if they get 2 starters, right? What if that is able to happen where maybe if they got Tristan Wirfs at 10, they don't have the opportunity for someone else at 41 like that fills a huge need at a position of value, right? So those are the what ifs. And I want to encourage you, that's what the NFL draft is. That's what the offseason is. If I could rebrand myself, I would probably rebrand myself as Mr. What If. Because the what if is really where interesting things happen, right? It's where our thoughts can go. It's where our minds can wander. It's where we can enjoy things or we can decide to hate them, right? But our what ifs are really a combination of our cortex and midbrain. It's things we enjoy, things we hate, where our emotions are connected to, while our cortex is processing some of that and trying to put pieces together, right? What happens if the quarterback carousel? What happens if the Browns think differently than everybody thinks they should think? And that's where the fun can be. So I hope you guys have a great Wednesday morning. It is almost 7 a.m. I got to get going. I know you might have to as well. So I hope you enjoy Mueller in the morning here on the Mueller Sports Report. Again, I'm your host, Jared Mueller. You can get a hold of me on Twitter at Jared K. Mueller. That's JaredKMueller. Thanks for stopping by and have a great day.